Hi everybody, right now I'm in Stung Treng, Cambodia, which is pretty close to the Cambodian-Lao border, and probably tomorrow is when we'll be crossing that. But I haven't talked at all about Cambodia. We've been here since October 7th, or maybe the 8th. That was the first day we came in. We took a bus from Saigon to Phnom Penh, capital of Cambodia, instead of biking across the border. So that cut out maybe a day of biking, and so we wouldn't have to do. But when you go by bus, you basically hand the guys your passport and the $35 fee, and they just take care of all that. So we took the laser out. We did that. Phnom Penh, a pretty big city, not nearly as big as Saigon. It's a bit dirtier, that's for sure. We stayed there about 4 days at the Happy Place, and the funny thing is, if you go on, say, Hostel World, or we talk to some other people, go on Booking.com, which apparently is a thing, and you look for the Happy Place. Oh yeah, there's the Happy Place Hostel, and there are pictures of this lovely place. And if you book with the place that we stayed at. So there's two places called the Happy Place. One of them's nice, and the other is, well, it's worth the $3 a night that you pay for. There was, I didn't see this personally, but one guy who was in our room, I was vaguely awake when this happened. It was, say, 3 in the morning, and he got up out of one of the bunk beds and went to go to the bathroom, opened up the door, turned on the light, and then just turned it off and went back to bed. And I wasn't awake enough to process at the time, but later in the morning he told us when he turned on the light, he just see the bathroom was just filled with roaches. There were at least 22 scurrying around all over the bathroom. And at that point he decided he didn't really need to pee that bad and just went back to bed. So that's where we stayed in Phnom Penh. We got to see the Royal Palace, pretty funky place. Apparently the king actually still lives there. So, of course, Michael and I are planning all sorts of kidnapping plans. Jonik is going to be put on the throne of Cambodia, but then we're going to overthrow him as well. All sorts of exciting stuff. And, oh, I found the coolest thing ever. Don't you walk away, because there is something waiting for you. This guy. It's just the best. I found this in Market in Phnom Penh. I also saw this same ones in Siem Reap. But I just love this little elephant. It's so funky and colored. And at first I was thinking, oh, I'll get this as a gift for someone. That was my reasoning. And no, I just really want it for me. So, cool elephants, and that's about all that happened in Phnom Penh. Yeah, that's all that matters. So then we started biking to Siem Reap, and that's actually the biggest attraction in Cambodia. It's not the capital, but it's pretty big. A lot more touristy as well, because that's where the Angkor temples are. So there's Angkor Wat, which is the biggest of them. That's the one on all the postcards. And so ancient Angkor Empire, the Khmer people, they ruled most of Southeast Asia, then downhill. But they made some pretty cool temples, and we got to explore through them. I was really sick when we first got to Siem Reap. And actually, on the way there, we did it in 3 days from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap. And we did a 100-mile day one day just to see if we could, and we could. So check that off the list. And so we got to Siem Reap. I was sick for 2 days. It was absolutely miserable. And then we actually get to see the temples, which are a really cool place. If you just ever happen to be in the neighborhood, you just go for a walk one day and you end up in the Siem Reap, you should see the Angkor temples. Really recommend them. Let's see what. Oh, met some. So we stayed at the Tintin Irish Cafe and Guest House, but it wasn't actually a cafe, and as far as I could tell, it wasn't Irish either. It was a cool place. We met some people. There's one guy, Tor. He's an Aussie from Melbourne, and he was working there for a bit. He left partway through, and there was another guy, Dov, from Lithuania. Yeah, he's really into music, and he spent an hour one night just showing me all of these different music videos from. He scores through these up and coming artist charts and has really particular taste, and is a pretty funky guy. And so him, but a guy named Keegan. He's a Canadian who's now living in Cambodia, married to a Cambodian, and he's got a little kid now. And we talked for a long time. He's a very rambunctious, affable guy, so that was really fun to run into him. And Siem Reap, we got ready to move on. Started biking through northern Cambodia along Highway 60 something doop-a-doop. And there's nothing there. Nothing. And along the way from Phnom Penh to Siem Reap, it was really beautiful scenery. I loved it. And Michael said at one point, "Man, I really wish I could see a stunning vista right now. Guess I'll just have to turn my head 90 degrees." And that's pretty much how it was. But in northern Cambodia, it's just nothing. There's scrubby brushes on either side of the road and a whole lot of nothing. We ran into a guy, or a guy pulled up alongside us and started matching speeds while we were biking through northern Cambodia. And he was actually part of the Khmer Rouge, the group that was responsible for the genocide back in the history. And he was a soldier in that, and he had really broken English. It was hard to understand, but he seemed to be trying to convey that, one, if we were biking along this road back in the day, it would be really bumpy, and we'd also get shot. So that's good to know. That's good to know. Good thing it's not back in the day. We ran into him, and the guest house we stayed at 1 night ago, 2 nights ago, maybe? 1 night ago. The kid at the front desk, he was always singing, and he was so bad at it. It was preposterous. So I don't know if there's a name to the particular style of Cambodian, Thai, Vietnamese singing, but there's a lot of notes that you do that aren't really easy to hit, and even some of the people in the actual songs aren't that good at it. This kid had, props for trying, but it was grating. So we finally arrived here, Stung Treng, spending a day there. The place, so advertisements here are really, well, first off, everywhere in Cambodia, every single restaurant, especially when you're going through the countryside, has the same sign, red. It says Angkor Beer, one company that their advertisements are everywhere. And Michael and I were joking, it was a sort of mafia run, sort of, you have to pay your dues. And I was talking with Keegan, and it turns out that's sort of how it works. As if you have a business, so you have to bribe the police to not harass you, you have to pay taxes. But good old Angkor Beer, you just put their sign up in front, and they take care of the bribes for you, they take care of the taxes and that stuff. So that's why every place in Cambodia has an Angkor Beer sign out front. And a lot of the advertisements for food places and guest houses, they just have pictures of stuff that everyone knows isn't in those establishments. So I haven't seen this at this guest house, but plenty along the way. They'll have this picture of a beautiful, lovely room, or like with a beach view, and the place isn't near the beach. They're just random pictures of rooms that were clearly pulled off of Google Images. I guess that's how advertising works here. And there's a place across the road that serves Western food. And on their picture menu for French fries, the picture is a thing of McDonald's fries in the red container with the yellow arches. So there's that. And let's see, tomorrow we're probably going into Laos, another currency, incredibly valued currency to get used to. So here the money is the real, and it's about 4,000 real to a dollar. And the way it works is, in any of the more populated places, or especially any touristy place that caters to Westerners, they'll put prices in dollars, and there's no U.S. coins here, so people just pay you back in change in real. And then in the countryside, none of them have dollars, but they all know 4,000 to a dollar. So if you pay in dollars, you get your change in real. Although you probably don't want to use a big bill, because people might not be able to break that. Might break you instead. Yeah, that's right, punk. And let's see. Yeah, that's Cambodia.